Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to see how we can create a interaction dust with this rhino animation, and I'm going to tell you in this video how you can create a dust interaction with color variance also. Okay, and this rhino animation I take it from the guy Nav Singh. He make this alembic free for all of you, and you can use this model in your scene also. Okay, you can download it from here. And if you are new to this channel, please make sure you subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any update. And let's start the video. This is a file. I will give the link in the description of this file. Okay, and you can download it from Gumroad. So basically so what I'm doing here, I first import the rhino animation here in the import rhino import. So you can see in the alembic I just imported the downloaded file and then convert it to polygon because it's alembic, so it won't have that points and UVs. So I make it like I convert it, and then what I'm doing here, I delete all the attributes, especially path. I'll tell you why I'm doing this, but this is scale rhino. If I make this 0.5, you can see I reduce the scale for the simulation and bring it back to the original scale after sim. Okay, so for now I just make the transform 0.5, and for the camera also you can see we have the camera. So in the camera it won't visible because it's scaled down, so I take a null and make this 0.5. So now if you see it, you can see the rhino is there. Okay, after that I made a ground for interaction of the foot. So for the ground what I'm doing, I just take a simple method. I take a height field, okay, and draw some curves for some terrain growth, okay, and use the height field project so it will look like this. I don't have much experience in height field, so I use some tutorials and see some tutorials and make this. And height field distort, height field noise, these things. Okay, height field blur, and give some noises to it look like it's a ground. Okay, and then use a height field erode 1 or 2 times. Then the final result will look like this. I should have to cache it. It will take time because it's erode 2 times. So yeah, you can see it will look like this. So I just cache this to disk. Okay, and I shifted time shift on 173 frame, but I cache it in here. Maybe it will work. Yeah, it will work. Okay, and now I transform a bit according to my rhino. You can see if I enable the rhino from outside and go in the camera, now you can see this show all object. So you can see it needs some flat ground, so I just transform a bit. Before it has some like height, and it's not matching properly with the foot. So I transform it and UV texture again and outground. So after that we have the ground, we have the rhino. So let's create some particle from it. So here is a particle sim which I made. So in the particle sim you can see I just import the ground rhino, okay, and then import the ground. And what I'm doing here, I just take a bounding box in which the rhino going, okay, the rhino animation. So I take the first frame of rhino and last frame. So I dollar f end and dollar f is f start, okay, and merge both and create a bounding box and give some low padding, upper padding, and then group that area. So I will maximize the substeps, or what you can see the details of the ground by using this only subdivide. You can see I only subdivide this part because we are using this only, okay, for emission particles. So I just make the color black and the rhino should be red, okay, and then color transferring the foots. You can see we have that areas which from which we have to emit the particles, okay, and then use a delete node for deleting other area instead of red. Using this at the rate cd is greater than 0.5 and 0.1 you can also use. Then attribute delete, okay, so we deleting the color and use scatter use scatter for scatter points on the geometry. And then we have to transfer the original velocity from the object, because we have some velocity. You can see in the trail node we have some, oh sorry, the trail node you can see we have some velocity. So we are using this velocity for emission particle. So we just transfer this velocity to our scatter by using attribute transfer and giving the velocity here, and we are just cast it out. Okay, so for now just disable the trail node, trail visualization, and we have the particles. So what we are doing here, uh, then we are using velocity multiplier, okay, kind of multiplier. Then I'm using what is this turbulent noise for the this color variation, okay, and delete some other black color, and we have this noisy source, okay. It before it was too like smooth and uniform, so that's why I use the noise. And then I use a attribute wrangle to like multiply the velocity by lower value to reduce the uh, scale of velocity, okay. Then I use some curl noise also, so the velocity will look like this. I'll show you how it's look like. You can see it will look like this, more noisy, more patchy, like this. So it depends on you how you want to be your velocity, okay, behave. Okay, just disable the visualization and come in the popnet. So in the popnet I use a source, okay, as a point, and birth I use 25,000 particles, and kill group we have the life expectancy full, okay, and the inherent velocity we are increasing some randomizations, okay. Pop force we are using some noises, and pop speed limit before, because without pop speed limit you can see what's happening. Before it's going too far, too crazy, you can see it's going too up, too far, you can see here. So I don't want these particles going like this, so I use this pop speed limit. So it will limit the speed of the each particle will be 7, okay. So then we have using ground plane, and then static object, or the our rhino, okay, and then gravity, just that's it. And I cached it out with some useful attribute. Take remain and delete other attributes, other unnecessary attributes, and cached it out. And so you can see it's look like this now. It won't, the particle won't go further, and it looks nice to me, okay. Then I use a debris using these points. What I'm doing, I just take a platonic or solid and assemble these, and take all these things at origin and enumerate to give some variant attribute. And how many variant we have in the geometry spreadsheet? 0 to 9, okay. We have 10 pieces, 0 to 9, with variant attribute. Then we have the particles. We have to create the same attribute like variant here with the randomness. So you can see we are using attribute adjust integer. You can see in my previous tutorial I have already used this technique, so you can see there also. So we have the variant 0 to 9 we have, and make it random and name this variant, okay. So and then we are using p scale and normal rotation and copy to point, and in the copy to point you have to use this variant in the piece attribute, otherwise it won't work, okay. Then I have cached it this also, and put the original scale back, and I delete some points because it's too heavy to render and loading to me. So what I do, I just uh, take 70% group, okay, of points, and delete those. So now I have reduced the overall amount of debris, okay. So we have this, and then what we are doing after this, and in the side we have some collisions. So you can see how we are using the collisions, the rhino, and we convert it to again and vdb from polygon. And I just, you can see in the, it's just a collision, it's nothing else. 0.02, you can use collision source as well, this one also, okay, but I use this one and cache it, okay. So for these particles, okay. After this, go back here, and for the dust simulation, this is a very important part. So in the dust sim, what we are doing, go inside this, and I take the particle source, originally particle simulation. Okay, and I delete some particle according to age. Okay, using age threshold. So I delete the aged particle. Okay, which are longer than 0.2. Okay, and then use a pyro source, density, temperature. Okay, and we are using some noises in the density. If you see in the density, we have some noise like this. Okay, and then we are using the color, or white color or gray color, you can say. Okay, and whatever color you can take, and rasterize all the attributes here: density, temperature, velocity, and CD. Okay, and cache it out. It's better to cache the volume source, because it will very light your simulation. Okay, otherwise it take too long to like first rasterize and then simulate. Okay, and then we have the collisions. Here we have the collision. We take the convert. We are using trail for generating velocity, and then we are using VDB from polygon to create velocity and collision source. You can see we have the collision 0.02, and take a point V, and VDB name will be velocity, so it will have the velocity and collision source both. Okay, collision and velocity, and we cached both and using here. Okay, so here let it make this 0.1 for now for testing purpose. I'll using 0.05 the final sim, and start frame will be 50. Okay, so in the collision you can see we are using SDF plus velocity, volume velocity, so it will drag your dust with the velocity of the collision object. Okay, so that will be looks much nicer. And I make the y ground plane 0. Okay, and the sourcing I take the density, temperature, divergence a bit, and color. Okay, which I are taking from here, uh, and then velocity. Okay, the original velocity. For the color variation, what I do here, you can see we have the particles again. Okay, and we have the ground. So we take some area, we group some area, make color and group some area, and subdivide it again, and use some random color. See, dark and gray, dark and brown. Okay, and blur this color a bit, and use a attribute transform. So these particles will transform that color from the ground. Okay, so it will have some variation in color. So we are using the source density, and in the rasterize we are using CD and density. So we are using this as a separate volume source in this simulation. Okay, so it will be have some color variation. So inside this, I'll tell you what I'm doing here. Inside this, go here, and in the source output you can see we have the volume source, and it has the connection from out CD from here, the color variance, and in the we are taking the CD as a scalar, and density and alpha. Okay, so by this you can see here, if I run this simulation, it has some varying color. See, it has some bright and darker tone in dust. So you can give anything. Okay, anything you want. It not necessary to give these two. You can take anything. If I change here the color, maybe the red and the blue, so you can see how it will look. You can see here. Okay, and here also you can see the red, and okay, so you can easily use these colors. Okay, and then what I'm doing here, other settings I'm using in the field, I'm using dissipation 0.015. so I want to stay these dust as longer as I want in the scene. And then the buoyancy will be 0.2, speed have some wind speed also there in the opposite direction, and some disturbance. The main disturbance I using inside this, and the turbulence you can see in the here I use a gas disturb stand 0 10. Okay, and control will be the speed, and the turbulence also have some 0.2, and vortex confinement. It's very useful. You want to rotate your smoke, if you want to rotate your smoke. Okay, and then uh, Yeah, and for the output, I just output density and CD and convert it to VDB and use 16-bit float. Okay, so it will reduce your cache size into the disk. Okay, and then I cache it out, all things you can see here, and then I use pyrobake volume, how it will be look, and transform back it to 0.5 again. Invert the transformation. I use that transformation from Rhino and invert it back. Okay, in both of the particle simulation and here also. Make it transform again like this. Okay, and in now I don't want to use this as a small scale. Just disable the transform and disconnect this from here, so it will be visible here now. Okay, I'm not rendering this in mantra, so I'm rendering it in karma. So what I'm doing here, just go in stage level, and you will see I'll importing everything here: the dust, the rhino, the ground, and the debris. Okay, all things together in the merge. And importing scene is very simple, using sop import and using that import it. Okay, then just change the name every node accordingly, and then camera, same camera. uh, just turn off the light for now. Okay, and then materials, I'm using the materials. Like go inside, we have the rhino principal shader, which I have taken from the texture from the file. We have the karma pyro material, so this will work with your XPU and CPU both. Okay, so this will in 20.5 I think it's working, but I don't think in 20 or 19.5 it will work. Okay, with the XPU, with your graphic. Okay, and we have that ground, normal materials, the brown material. We have the ground, the normal materials, and the debris with the same material. Okay, a brighter, using karma shader, and assign these to each of the geometry. You can see debris, ground, and rhino, and dust. Okay, I just assign all of them. You can see here everything will be assigned. Just disable the grid and go in the camera, and I use a karma physical sky. Before I was using just a distant light and dome light, but it won't give me a good result, so I'm using this karma, and it will give me a great result. It will like give some life in the scene. Okay, and then I use the render geometry settings, so give some motion blur to the debris. Okay, and then I separate each of them. I render the geometry separate, the dust separate, and the debris separate. So here we have using the dust as a matte, you can say as a phantom, so it I have some shadow on it. Okay, uh, and in the karma render setting we have changed nothing, just take the camera properly, and in the advanced take the bucket, and nothing special. Okay, and just render this one CPU. So you can see how good it's look, how amazing this is looking with the karma like physical sky. If I disable this one, you can see sorry, we have to restart that render, but yeah, it will give some shadows, some sunlight. If you go in the end, you will see the more. So you can see the nice sunlight is coming from the right direction. It will highlight the rhino. So this is how you can render your geometry inside the karma. And the dust also, you can see if I display the dust, it will also has some. And I made all these objects, the ground, the debris, the rhino. You can see I take all of them in the render geometry setting and make this matte. Okay, so it will work as a matte. You can see the dust will be rendered, and you can see the matte of rhino, and the uh, terrains are visible clearly. Okay, so you can render these like separately, like a pass. Okay, and debris also. So this is how you can create your effects using this rhino animation. Hope this will helpful to you, and if you have any question and have any doubt, please comment it down. And also you can DM on Instagram and Discord as well. I'll meet you in next video next week. So and thanks for watching. Bye.